There's a chemical reaction sitting in your kitchen right now that the $184 billion residential heating industry has no interest in explaining to you. 2 ingredients, both already in your home. Table salt, the kind on your kitchen table every morning, and aluminum foil, the stuff you wrap leftovers in before they go in the fridge. Under the right conditions, those 2 ordinary items produce genuine, measurable, sustained heat. No flame, no gas line, no power outlet, no moving parts. The United States military worked this out decades ago. They engineered it into every combat ration issued to deployed soldiers since 1990. Laboratory testing confirmed that salt is the essential trigger that transforms a passive sheet of metal into a heat-generating device capable of raising a meal's temperature by 100 degrees Fahrenheit in under 12 minutes. That technology went into every major military field operation since Desert Storm, and it never made it to a store shelf near you. This is not folklore. The chemistry is documented, peer-reviewed, and confirmed across more than a century of material science. The reason most people don't know about it isn't dramatic, it's economic. When an answer costs less than $1 and fits in a kitchen drawer, no corporation profits from handing it to you. So they don't, and most people never ask. And let's start with aluminum itself, because most people don't think about what they're actually holding when they pull a sheet of foil off the roll. Aluminum is one of the most chemically reactive metals on the periodic table. In its raw state, without anything protecting it, aluminum doesn't corrode slowly the way iron does. It reacts aggressively. The oxidation of aluminum with water releases at least 270 kilojoules of heat per mole. The theoretical maximum, and when aluminum reacts fully with water, reaches closer to 1,700 kilojoules per mole. To put that in terms your body understands, that's enough thermal energy to bring a cup of water from freezing to boiling more than 3 times over, from a piece of aluminum no bigger than a golf ball. So why isn't your kitchen foil generating heat every time you rinse it under the tap? Because aluminum has a built-in defense system. The instant aluminum contacts oxygen in the air, it forms a protective layer on its own surface. That layer is aluminum oxide, and it's only a few nanometers thick, invisible to the naked eye and weighing almost nothing. But it's structurally dense and chemically stable enough to act as a perfect barrier between the reactive metal underneath and any water or oxygen outside. That invisible film is the only thing standing between your roll of kitchen foil and a genuine sustained heat-producing reaction. And table salt dissolves it, not violently, not instantly, systematically. The chloride ions in sodium chloride, ordinary table salt, are uniquely aggressive toward aluminum oxide. When saltwater contacts aluminum, those chloride ions begin penetrating the oxide layer at microscopic weak points. Once they reach the bare aluminum beneath, they disrupt the surface chemistry in a way that prevents the oxide from reforming. The protection is stripped away and kept stripped away. The underlying aluminum begins reacting directly with water. An exothermic reaction starts. Heat flows. Hydrogen gas is released as a byproduct. The temperature rises. This isn't a theoretical observation. It has been tested under the most demanding real-world conditions imaginable. In 1973, the United States Army Natick Research and Development Center in Massachusetts began investigating chemical methods of heating combat rations without an open flame. The requirement was specific. Raise the temperature of an 8-ounce meal entree by 100 degrees Fahrenheit within 12 minutes. No visible flame, no electricity, no fuel canister. Just a chemical reaction that a soldier could trigger in the field with nothing but a small amount of water. After years of testing and development, the Army settled on a mixture of finely powdered magnesium and iron, with table salt as the activating agent. When water was added and the salt dissolved into an electrolyte, it converted every metal particle into a miniature galvanic cell. Thousands of tiny short-circuit reactions firing simultaneously, flooding the system with heat. In their patent filings, the Army called these super-corroding galvanic cells. Salt wasn't incidental to the process. Salt was the mechanism. The flameless ration heater was first issued to U.S. soldiers in May of 1990 and became standard equipment in every meal ready to eat, beginning in 1993. It has been deployed in Desert Storm, Somalia, the Balkans, Afghanistan, and Iraq. Every theater, every climate, every condition. The same core principle, salt triggering a metal's exothermic reaction with water to produce heat on demand, without fire, without fuel, and without any connection to a power grid. And none of that knowledge was ever translated into a mainstream consumer product. Think about what that means. The most battle-tested flameless heating technology in American military history, documented in open procurement records and declassified research, has been in continuous active use for more than 30 years. The average American household has no idea it exists, and there is no widely available commercial product designed to replicate it for civilian emergency use. The residential heating equipment market was valued at $184.5 billion globally in 2024. Gas furnaces, boilers, heat pumps, electric baseboard systems, radiant floor systems, all of it built on one foundational assumption. You need an external metered energy source to stay warm. You need the gas line running under the street. You need the meter on the side of the house. You need the service contract, the annual maintenance visit, the rate increases, and the renewal that never gets cheaper. The entire system is designed around the premise that warmth is something you purchase from an external provider, indefinitely, on their terms. A packet of salt and a roll of aluminum foil doesn't fit anywhere in that business model. This isn't conspiracy. It's the ordinary arithmetic of a market that cannot monetize simplicity. No utility company funds a public awareness campaign explaining that 2 pantry staples can produce emergency heat. No HVAC industry association develops an educational guide around chemistry that requires nothing from them. Knowledge that liberates people from dependency isn't suppressed by order. It just never gets a distribution channel, a marketing budget, or a product placement. The history makes this even clearer. Aluminum foil became commercially available between 1910 and 1912, when manufacturing advanced enough to produce it thin and cheap enough for everyday use. Within a decade, chemists working in early electrochemistry had already documented the chloride-aluminum interaction in detail. They understood that halide ions, particularly chloride, were uniquely capable of disrupting aluminum's passive oxide barrier in ways other compounds could not. This was well mapped, published science, available on both sides of the Atlantic. It moved into industrial applications and military specifications. It never moved into household awareness, not because it was dangerous, not because it was complicated, because it was free, and free cannot sustain an industry. Here's what you can actually do with it. The salt-aluminum reaction in its most accessible form doesn't require powdered magnesium alloys or military-grade materials. The fundamental mechanism, chloride ions stripping aluminum's oxide layer and triggering an exothermic reaction with water, works with what you already own. You'll need heavy-duty aluminum foil, several tablespoons of table salt, the hottest water available to you, and an insulating container. A wide-mouth thermos, a double-walled cup, or even a pot wrapped in a folded cloth will all work. Crumple the foil into a dense, irregular ball roughly the size of a fist. The goal is maximum exposed surface area. A smooth, flat sheet makes poor contact with the solution. A crumpled, irregular shape gives the salt water far more aluminum to reach. Surface area is your primary variable. Dissolve the salt into the hottest water you have, stirring until no more will dissolve. You're aiming for a fully saturated solution. The chloride ion concentration directly determines how aggressively the oxide layer is disrupted. A dilute saltwater solution produces some reaction, but a saturated solution produces meaningfully more. Pour the saturated salt water over the foil in your insulating container. The reaction begins almost immediately. You'll notice fine fizzing at the surface. That's hydrogen gas being released as a byproduct of the aluminum-water reaction, exactly as documented in military FRH specifications. The container begins to warm. In a well-insulated vessel, within 5 to 8 minutes, you have a reliable heat source that remains warm for 30 to 45 minutes, longer and better insulation. Now, let's be precise about what this is and what it isn't. The temperature ceiling of a kitchen version salt aluminum system tops out well below boiling. You're not cooking a roast, you're not heating a house. What you're generating is consistent, sustained warmth, the kind that keeps hands from going numb in a car stranded in a winter storm, that prevents hypothermia when the power goes out and the thermostat goes dark, that heats water to drinking temperature, warms a cloth for a sick child, or keeps a person's core temperature from dropping into a dangerous range. The military specification required a 100-degree rise in 12 minutes using optimized powdered alloys and engineered concentrations. The kitchen version operates more gently, but it operates on the same verified principle. And in the scenarios where you need it most, a power outage in January, a breakdown on a highway, an emergency shelter situation, sustained warmth isn't a novelty. It's the margin between discomfort and danger. There are ways to improve performance. Layered strips of foil inside the container, rather than a single ball, increase total reactive surface area. Stirring the foil periodically introduces fresh salted water to surfaces where hydrogen buildup may have slowed the reaction. Replacing the solution partway through with fresh saturated salt water restarts the reaction at full intensity. In extended use, replace spent foil with fresh material. While reusing the same salt solution, the salt doesn't deplete the way the aluminum does. A single batch of saturated salt water can drive multiple cycles. In a situation where you have access to salt from a pantry, a camping kit, or even evaporated seawater, and access to aluminum, foil, beverage cans, food packaging, countless common items, you have an indefinitely repeatable heat source with no fuel cost, no moving parts, and no reliance on any external infrastructure. One adjacent technology makes the pattern even clearer. Sodium acetate heat packs, the reusable hand warmers with a small metal disc inside, work on a related principle. Sodium acetate, when dissolved at high concentration and cooled without crystallizing, becomes a supersaturated solution storing latent energy like a coiled spring. Snap the disc. Seed the crystallization, and the solution locks into a solid structure in seconds, releasing heat to around 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Non-toxic. Completely reusable by dropping the solidified pack in boiling water. That chemistry has been documented since the late 1970s. Today it's sold in pharmacy gift sections as a novelty hand warmer, not as emergency equipment, not as an off-grid thermal tool. The chemistry is the same. The framing is everything. A product placed in the gift novelty aisle poses no threat to a $3,000 furnace replacement. That placement is not accidental. The salt-aluminum reaction sits in the same category. The chemistry is verified, militarily tested, and freely available in the scientific record. No one can patent the chloride ion's disruption of an aluminum oxide layer. No one can patent the exothermic oxidation of aluminum in water. These are laws of electrochemistry, as fundamental as the periodic table they arise from. Whatever intellectual property existed around specific alloy formulations and delivery mechanisms has expired or is irrelevant to the underlying natural chemistry. The principle belongs to anyone who understands it. The practical kit is straightforward. A roll of heavy-duty aluminum foil, a small bag of table salt, and a wide-mouth insulated container. Total cost under $3. It fits in a glove compartment, a day pack, or the bottom shelf of any emergency supply cabinet. No batteries, no ignition, no fuel to run out, heat from chemistry you already own. Every household that understands how to generate emergency warmth without the grid, without the pipeline, without the service contract, is a household slightly less dependent on a system designed around that dependency. Not because foil and salt will replace your furnace. They won't. But because the belief that warmth is something only licensed infrastructure can provide is worth billions of dollars a year to maintain. And it cracks a little whenever the actual science is clearly explained. The knowledge has always been there. In military research archives, in electrochemistry literature, in the same foundational science that any chemistry course would confirm. It was never handed to a general audience. Now it has been.